Okay. So, guys, this course is basically a diploma program, which is a program on global immigration and visa processes. So, the name of this course, what I call it as, is uh, Global Immigration Diploma, right? And this is basically a training which includes all the visa application types and processes across countries. So all those countries that you know work into visa applications, this training will equip you to learn all the information and details about the visa application and processes. And before I start the first part of the training, the very first preface of the training, I will just talk about my background. I am Rohit Menon. I am a former visa officer, immigration officer from New Zealand High Commission, Delhi branch, and I have worked with New Zealand Embassy where I was assessing all sorts of application of visas for declining and approving the application. Currently, I am the director of a company called EduConnect International Private Limited, which is operated by the brand name called Visas Connect. So this training is a training on all types of visa applications that you can actually think of for all the countries. Okay, next. Okay, so overview of this entire program, the diploma program that we are talking about. So today, what we are going to do is we are going to learn about how this training is going to help you in understanding the visas concept, the concept of all the visa application, how it is done, and what all things you need to think about while doing this visa application. You may also learn the process of filling up the forms. You will also learn the process of uh, how to complete a visa application form and what to enter into the application and what not to enter into the application, right? And so the first thing that we will today do is basically go through the concept of the visa, right? What is a visa, and what are the types of the visa, and we will understand visa types, we will understand the processes and how different countries handle their visa applications in different ways. That is what we are going to discuss today. So today's session is mostly related to the processes and the objectives, what we are going to do in the coming up sessions, wherein we will learn the common types of visas, we will understand the basic visa application process, we will understand and explore similarities and key differences between one country's visa application process with another country's visa application process. We will also go through country-wise visa application form, all those five I countries specifically, which are the major countries, and we will also learn how to prepare a statement of purpose for a study visa application or a letter of intent for a visitor visa or a work visa or any other type of visa application. We will learn that, and we will also learn about how to prepare a support letter in the application. So all these things we are going to cover in this. Um, One important thing that I would want to discuss with you guys is that what will you guys, be able to do after this course? Once you complete the entire program, uh, what will you be able to do? So this program is specifically designed for those people who wants to start their own business in visa application industry, who wants to start their own immigration company, right? Somebody, uh, if someone who knows the entire visa application process, as in how to do the form, and not just the form, but also the formats and the letters which goes into the form. Plus, the most important aspect of this training is understanding the psychology of the visa officer, how a visa officer thinks when he or she assesses your application. If you know that, if you're able to read and understand how the visa officer thinks, and before making a decision or before coming to an outcome in the application, then you will be able to understand, and you will be able to learn uh, the art of better preparing an application for a visa, which will eventually lead you to an approval, or approval to your client. So, who can do this course? Anyone who has an intent to start their business. There are people who can, do this course after completing their 12th grade or bachelor's. And if someone who wants to gain some job experience or internship experience immediately after their studies and know the visa, it's a huge industry, it's a big industry. I have been in this industry for last 16 years now, right? Prior to my last stint with the embassy. So this uh, has been a very, very fruitful business to me, because I have been doing this visa application for students, for visitors, for family visits, for PR, and all sorts of application. And every person today in the market wants to go abroad in some or the other way. Some people go for tourism and come back after 15-20 days. Some people go for family visit. Some people travel abroad for work. Some people travel for studies, and when they go for studies, they then extend their visas. They then apply for their work permit within that country, and then they apply for a permanent residence. So the opportunity for a consultant or a person working in immigration industry is vast, because it's like you being a doctor. Once the applicant has your trust, once you do a great job for the applicant, then the applicant refers his family to you for their visa application. He or she refers their friends to you for their visa application. He would come back to you to extend his visa in future when he is going there as a student or as a different process, altogether. He would, ask to apply for a different type of visa. So it can be endless. Once you do a good job with your applicant on the visa, then eventually you will start receiving or continuously receiving cases from the applicant, right? So this is basically an understanding of um, who can do this course, what will be the outcome of this course. If you thoroughly understand each and every aspect of the entire training, then you will be able to uh, know the exact way to make an application in perfection with all meticulous information, and then submit the application for your client or for yourself at the embassy to get a visa outcome. Okay. So today's class, today's session is more about discussing the concept, discussing the psychology of a visa officer, understanding the concept as in what to think about, what to do in the application, and then uh, in further sessions we will take uh, the points. We will take point based training and country based training, and then we will proceed with one country, then another, and so on. And then in the end, we will also be discussing about the formats, the letter, the contents that we write, so that at the end of the training, you are able to completely handle an application all by your own. So, like I said, we will cover countries like Canada, US, UK, Australia, New Zealand. So these Five Eyes countries are the major countries where a lot of people apply, and this is where the clientele today lies. A lot of people in India and people living abroad also applying for these countries. Like for example, people living in Dubai and they are from Indian origin, they are Indian nationals applying to go to Canada, you can do the application as a consultant sitting here in India, right? So this is the motive of this training. Now let's move to the next slide and see uh, the visa application types and processes across the country. Okay. In this session, which is the first session of the day of this diploma program, what we discuss is the common types of visa. As most of us know that tourist visa is one of the type of visa that people apply. On a very basic term, you it's understandable that tourist visa means touring across the country. You are traveling, going to see places, and tourist visa is normally a short-term visa, which normally an applicant applies for a week or 10 days. You travel to places like Malaysia or Dubai or Canada and all these places for a short period of time, and for like 1 week, 10 days, and you book hotels and you book your travel packages accordingly, and then you apply for the tourist visa. So this is basically one of the categories which is most applied and to countries like Canada, US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and all. The next category is a student visa, which is basically a long-term visa. Minimum length of a student visa can vary for from 1 year to a maximum of 2 year, 3 year, and 4 year also, depending on if the course that you're going for is a diploma program or a master's program or a bachelor's program. Generally, diploma programs overseas are of 1 year and 2 year of duration. And if you go for a bachelor's program, in some countries, the bachelor's program is for 3 years. And in some countries, the bachelor's program is for 4 years, right? And if you go for a master's program, some countries have master's program for 1 year. Some countries have 18 months. Some countries have 2 years. So student visa is one which is a long-term visa. Similarly, work visa is also a long-term visa, wherein if somebody finds a job, they get a job and they have a job opportunity and they apply for a job opportunity and they apply for a work visa based on the job offer that they have received from the employer and to work for the company which is based in that particular country. The next type of visa is a business visa. This is also a short-term visa. This is basically it's a component of a tourist visa only. But the only thing is, here you have a purpose of not touring or not visiting places or the historical places or the places, but you are invited by an organization on that particular country and you visit for a business meeting, you go for a business conference, you are attending a seminar of that sort. So, in such cases, you have to have an invitation letter from an organization which is based in that country, and then you are able to apply for a business visit visa. So, this is also a category of visitor visa, but it comes under business visa. There is one more category within tourist visa, which is also called as family visit visa. So this is where a lot of people make mistake. So I will give you an example, and this is what the conceptual training of day one today is, guys. So conceptual training for a visa type is very very important because a lot of people make mistake here and then they apply for a wrong application which eventually leads to a decline. So the visitor visa is majorly, is basically divided into three parts. Visitor visa has a sub branch called tourist visa, wherein you are planning to visit the country only for tourism. That's number one, right? The second branch of visit visa is business visa, which is that you are going to visit that country only for business meetings or conference or seminars. The third branch of visitor visa is family visit visa, right? Family visit visa is basically that you have somebody living in that country who is related to you, not a friend, but who is a family. For example, your cousin, your real brother, your real sister, maybe your cousin brother and sister, uh, one of your parents living in that country, your grandparents, any person who is a family, who is related to you through your bloodline, or through your cousin, is a family, right? So if you are visiting a country, for example, Canada or US or UK, and so the category that you apply in is a family visit visa category. So when you mention on the application, when you mention on the letter, you don't say that I have to apply for a visitor visa based on tourism. You say I am applying for a visitor visa based on family visit. The perception of a visa officer completely changes in terms of your intent. So if you're going for tourism, he would look into booking of the hotels, he would looking into flight details, confirmation of flights and all that. But in family visit visa, he will then look into the family who is living in that country. Your brother, he will look into his status, his history, all that thing. So it is very important as to what you mention on your visa application form and what you mention on the letter, which decides the visa officer to accordingly assess the application. So you need to understand the type of visa application through the branch and then apply accordingly, right? There is another type of visa which is called permanent residency visas. This is a long term, or you can say it's an indefinite visa, which is you after you apply for a permanent residency, which is called PR also in short term. You apply for a PR based on your uh, your stay in that country as a student. Then you have probably worked in that country, so you have already spent a few years. You accumulate a few points basis your education, basis your experience, basis your language skills, and basis your age. And based on that, you decide that it's been 2 years, 3 years, 4 years now in the country. I want to permanently live in this country. So basically, basis on of your previous stay in that particular country, you apply for a permanent residency visa. Then you also have a transit visa. It is basically a stop. It's a short stopover in the country. You don't get out of the airport in that country. So let's say, for example, if you are traveling to, if your main destination is to go to Canada, and your flight is booked in such a way that you have a flight via US. So what is happening here is that you are not entering US soil. You're only within the airport, and you have a 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour stoppage within the airport. And within the airport, you are changing your airplane and going to your final destination, which is Canada. This is an example. So this is called transit. You are transiting through US to your main destination, which is Canada. So in those cases, when you have some particular amount of hours that you had to stay for at least 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. In some cases, you had to take a transit visa. So, transit visa does not allow you to go out of the airport of that country, because once you go out of the airport, that means you have entered the country. So, this is one type of visa. And then, like I said, family visit is one of the branch type of visitor visa, which also includes tourist visas and business visa. Family visit visa is one. In countries like Europe, you also have a family visit visa, which is called as reunion visa. This is basically to join a family member. For example, husband is working in, let's say, France, and he wants to call his wife and son to France. So they will apply for a family reunion visa to join the husband. So those people in Europe, they call family visit application as a reunion visa. But again, in reunion and family visit, there's a difference. Reunion is something wherein the husband is being joined by wife and daughter, or wife or son, vice versa, whatever the example is. But Family visit is something that you are visiting your family for 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, and then you come back to your home country, which is India. So that is the difference between reunion and family. Reunion means you are joining your husband or you are joining your wife, and you will continue to stay with that person till the time his visa or her visa is valid, and you also get the visa accordingly. Okay. So now, in this slide, we discuss about the visa application process. So, as a consultant or as a counselor, the first thing that happens to you is that you get a call or you get to meet a person who says that I want to apply for a visa. Okay. So, as a consultant, your first and immediate question to that applicant is, what type of visa do you want to apply? What is your purpose of visit? So, let's say if the person says that I have my real brother. He is studying in Canada, and I want to go to Canada. So obviously, this means that he has a brother who is basically a family, and he's a student in Canada, and he wants to uh, visit his brother. So obviously, this is going to be as simple as a family visit visa application. So you tell. Normally, people, this is as a consultant, you should know. A lot of people will call you and say, I want to apply for tourist visa. So, as a consultant, tourism means that he has nobody that he knows in that country, and he is only going to travel, look at the beaches, look at monuments, look at historical places, go to famous eateries, and come back after a holiday. Tourism means holiday, right? But then, after a few days of talking, you will come to know in between that, oh God, he has a brother in Canada. Then the entire application system and documentation changes. So it is very important for a consultant or for a counselor to understand on day one the type of application that you are going to help your applicant in processing. So when the visa, when the applicant tells you that he wants to apply for a tourist visa, the first question you ask is it for tourism holidays, or do you have, the first question that you ask is, do you have any relatives in that country? For example, is wanting to, somebody calls you and he or she wants to travel to UK, and he or she says that I want to, I want to go to UK for I want to travel there. I want a tourist visa. So you don't simply start asking about the booking details. You ask, do you have any relative? And if she says, yes, I have my real sister, she's on a work permit in UK. Then you say that it is not going to be a tourist visa. Since you have a real family, a bloodline there, you will have to apply for a family visit visa. Once you understand the application type and you're able to inform the applicant properly, you always win the trust of the applicant, and then you go on with the documentation and you go on with informing the applicant that this is the type of visa we are going to apply, and then you will provide the checklist of documents accordingly to the applicant. So there are basically two types of application when you make nowadays. Since after the time of COVID and after so much of digitalization, all these countries like Canada, US, Australia, UK, and New Zealand, which we call them as Five Eyes, they have all gone online. So all these countries have their own portal. You can fill in the forms in their own portal, and you can upload the documents in their portal and submit the application within the portal. And for that, you need to create a login ID and password. So every time you make an application, you can go back to the same account, which is a unique account that becomes yours, and you can keep submitting the application within that app, within that portal. So it's like the countries have made up a program wherein an individual can create an account portal and submit the application by uploading the documentation and providing all the information. This is called the online based application. The other type of application is paper based application, which has become very limited now. Nowadays, it is mostly the uh, European countries. That too, some of the European countries, they are still into the Schengen visa, which is paper based, wherein you have to submit the application at VFS. But apart from that, most of the applications that you are submitting is in Europe also. They have started the portal system wherein you fill in the form online, add all the information, but submit the documentation by hand. So the process is very simple. Once you understand the type of visa application, then when you know what country to apply, you accordingly decide whether it is going to be an online or a paper based application. Once you decide that, you have to give the applicant, your client, a checklist of documents which are required. Main checklist of documents are mainly the passport, the financial detailed checklist. And what the applicants and the agents make mistakes today is that they just follow that checklist on the website of the government and they upload. Eventually, when they get declined, they are surprised to know, and they say that they have already uploaded all the documents which the embassy asked for. Then why did they decline? So, the documentation part is not just limited to what they have mentioned. Whatever the embassy mentions on their website is just a basic requirement which the visa officer needs to assess your application. It is the job of the applicant, it is the duty of the applicant to provide information in more detail, wherein you have to convince the visa officer that your purpose of visit to that country is genuine and clear, your intent is clear, and you are going to come back to your home country for XYZ social reasons, XYZ financial reasons, XYZ assets. So you have to clearly mention all the details which would convince the officer that that you will come back to India, and your purpose of visit is only temporary in that country, depending on the type of application you are making. Once the documents and everything is ready, then you submit all the. If you are applying online, you submit all the information, submit the forms, fill in the forms and everything, and you upload all the documents, and then move to the next page or the last page of the portal to pay the embassy fee, save all the documents. In most of the countries, after submitting the document, if it is your first time application, you have to go and visit the respective visa application facilitation center, which is called VAC. Some in some countries it's VFS. Actually, in most of the countries, it is out. The all these embassies have outsourced their application process for biometrics and all to VFS. But in some countries like Spain and other countries, there is BLS and other type of organization taking all the documentation. So once you complete all this, you will have to um take the appointment of VFS and go for the biometrics if required, if intimated by the embassy, if informed, you have to attend the interview for the visa and wait for the outcome once all the documentation, submission, and interview and biometrics is done. So, in a nutshell, this is the basic process of visa application. Once all these things are done, you wait for your decision. If it is approved, you plan to travel further, and as per your plan, you travel to the country and come back. If it's a decline, you need to look into the decline reason, and you may reapply. And this is the region, you can try and alleviate those concerns. And if they ask for additional requests, additional documents, they probably call or email you and ask for additional documents for you to submit. So, in a nutshell, this is the visa application process. So, on the next screen, let us see the required documentation. So, normally in the um country's website, you will see, like I said, you will see basic documentation. So, for any type of application, the basic requirement is the passport. Most of the countries says that your passport must be at least 6 months valid when you apply, because at least for that time of period, you need the passport should be valid. And then you need some photographs as per the country specification on a white background, and recent ones. Photos should not be less than or more than 6 months old. Financial documents like bank statement, because when you're traveling, obviously you're spending on your airline, you're spending on your hotels and stay and everything. So you need to show the funds. You need to show the uh, invitation letter, who is funding you, sponsoring. If you are a student, if you are a child, then somebody has to be sponsoring you. So they show the sponsorship proof of the person, all the ID proofs, accommodation details, as in where will you be staying during your 15 days, 20 days stay, then your travel itinerary, what is your return plan. If you're going for tourism, then your hotel bookings and confirmation and return travel ticket confirmed once. If you are visiting a family or a friend, then they ask for the invitation letter. And depending on the type of visa, if it's a student or something else for a long term stay, they also ask for medical. They also ask for your police clearance certificate. So if you are traveling to a country for more than 6 months, they may ask you for a police clearance certificate, and they may ask for a medical insurance or a medical document, also medical checkup also. Next slide is further requirement of the documents, that is country wise, which is the visa application process by country. So uh, let us discuss the five main countries which, as a consultant, you will get more work on these major five countries. So it's Canada, US, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. So the trend in India nowadays is that the highest number of applicants for tourism or for settlement or for family visits is normally for US, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. So, as a consultant, if you are doing a business, if you're starting up a business, your knowledge in these five countries is very, very important. If you know hands-on job on these five countries application process, you can very well start up your own consultancy, or you can work in a company, an immigration company. You can also work for a global mobility company. There are big companies. I will give you one example, which is like ENY, and there are other major global mobility companies who would hire people for visa application processes. So they do hire people, and they do hire people in good salaries if you have an experience and if you have the job knowledge. So these countries, if you know the processes, then your job or your business as a consultant can really flourish. So in Canada, you have online application. They have an IRCC portal wherein you can create an account, login ID and password, and submit the application. Canada, after submission, you have to go for a biometric, and the processing time on an average nowadays it is around 6 to 8 weeks maximum. It depends and keeps changing depending on the timeline. If you are applying around October or around July, June, that is a peak student visa season. So the application for visitor visa and others may take time. In US, you have DS 160
Yeah.
form.
Congratulations.
They have an application fee. of $185 for any type of visa application. Normally, people goes for B1, B2, which is a visitor visa application, and you have to attend two appointments in US visas. One is for your biometrics. After you submit your forms and you pay your fees of $185, and you then attend a biometric on day one, and 2-3 days later, or maybe a week later, you are required to attend the embassy interview, wherein they interview you, they question you about your plan to travel, and you answer your questions according to your plan, and you are approved or declined the visa based on your profile and based on your answers. In UK, it is again through a portal. So you create your login credentials and you submit the application. Then you book biometric appointments at VFS. Once the biometric is done, nowadays UK has e-visa. So if your visa is approved, you will get an email about the e-visa login, and you'll have to log in and you can see your e-visa on your laptop or on your screen of the phone. And during your visit at the airport, you just have to show your phone screen by logging into the portal. And then once the visa is approved, you can travel. In Australia and New Zealand, they have very similar looking portal, almost similar portal, but obviously different. But then you have to log into the portal by creating your own account, which is called as IMI account, and you upload the documents, submit the application information, complete the form, and once you submit, again you go for your biometrics if required. Mostly in Australia and New Zealand nowadays they don't ask for biometrics, but you have to go to VFS for some fee payment or for passport submission. Otherwise, Australia and New Zealand are also e-visa. So now, apart from USA, all the other four countries are now into e-visas. They will give you an e-visa. They will give you labels. But also in Canada, the student visas and the visitor visas, you have to apply for the label. But initially, the approval letter that you get in Canada is you get it via portal information. So these are the major 5 countries that we will be training you on, and uh, we will also take up Europe as the country. So on the next slide, let us discuss the key similarities between countries. The prominent 5 countries, the key similarities, plain application system. So they all have portal. One similarity, they have all shifted to digital platforms. All these 5 countries require biometrics requirement. Fingerprints are commonly required. That's called biometrics. And all these countries ask for your funds availability, how much funds you have in your account. And all these countries, they ask for your experience, they ask for your background, what you're earning, how much you're earning per month, how much you're earning per year. All these countries they ask for financial assets, that what is there for you when you come back from India. If we let you travel to Canada, US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, what is the reason that will pull you back to your home country? So for that, you need to show your financial assets, your parents' asset, or there is another thing called social incentives. So, what is the social reason for you to come back to your hometown? You say that my parents are here in India, or my real sister is here in India, or I have my family, my wife, or my kids, depending on the applicant's profile. They have to say that someone is back in India waiting for me. So that is my social reason, that is my social incentives to return to my home country, and that is why I will not be overstaying in your country. My purpose is only visit. My purpose is only meeting, tourism, business, whatever the purpose is. You mention that, and you say that I only intend to stay there for 15 days, 20 days, 1 month, whatever timeline it is, and you have to come back for your family, for your parents. That is the social reason. and you have to say that I'm going to come back for my job, my property, my assets. That is your financial reasons or financial incentives. So this is common in all these countries. And documentation and document verification, like your bank statements, you can't fabricate the information of your funds available. So all those background checks of your experiences, job, education is done by the embassy randomly, or if they feel that there is some doubt in the application, they might verify your funds. So you have to you have to make sure and ensure that all the information and documents are complete and actually genuine, and there is no fabrication, there is no fraudulent or false information in the application. So these are the key similarities. If I tell you, it is very similar to what you do when you apply for a loan from a bank. You apply for a home loan or a personal loan or a vehicle loan. You apply for any type of loan, just like you apply for any type of visa. You apply at any bank. You apply to ICICI, you apply to HDFC, you apply to Punjab National Bank or Maharashtra Bank or whatever bank you apply to, right? Their criteria of looking at the loan approval is very, very similar to how immigration looks into this. The bank looks at your job, your salary. Would you be able to pay back in installment? How much are you earning? What is your history in the loan? If you have taken a loan from a bank previously, have you paid them back? If you have paid them back, then the chances are very high that if we as bank give you loan, you will pay this thing also back. If you have been a defaulter in earlier loans, the bank may not give you a loan because you may become a defaulter here, because that is your history. Similarly, the embassies also look at your travel history. They see that if you have traveled to Canada once and now that you're applying to UK, there is a high chance of you getting a visa, because someone who has traveled to Canada and has come back to his home country, India, why would he overstay and not come back from UK? So this is basically visa officers assessment. This is called balance of probability. So the chances or the possibility of you coming back from UK is higher if you have traveled to US, Australia, Canada, New Zealand earlier and had come back to your home country. So just like banks, they also look into your travel history. So as a consultant, you are again required to ask one more question before the start of the application, which is that, do you have any travel history? Have you traveled to any big countries like US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK, or in Europe? Because traveling to these countries and coming back to your home country will add benefit, will add value to this application for the country where you're applying for. Traveling in countries like Thailand, Malaysia, yes, they do make some impact on your travel history in terms of your finances, that you are financially able, that you are traveling to countries like Dubai, Malaysia, Singapore, Korea, Japan, all these Southeast Asian countries and all. But uh,
Mummy,
they are not that credible travel as compared to your travel in Canada, US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, because people don't overstay in Malaysia or Singapore, or the history is very, very low in these country markets. People don't uh, illegally stay in Thailand, right? People don't illegally stay in Singapore, Malaysia. Very few people, if they have to. But people do illegally stay, unlawfully stay in Canada, US, and don't come back because the job opportunities, the dollar value, and all that. They try to settle down illegally. So, if you have traveled to these five ICE country and come back, the chances of you getting an approval is very high as compared to no travel. So, this as a consultant, you can tell the visa officer in your client's application that my client or the client has traveled to these countries and come back. This goes to show that it is that the applicant will definitely come back from this country as well, right? Next, we discuss the notable difference between these countries. So the notable difference is processing time. So depending on the situation, the timeline, the month, the kind of application you have submitted, the processing time may, some cases we get approvals within a week time, some cases takes 3 months time. The interview requirement in countries are different. Canada usually don't take interview. I haven't seen an interview in the Canadian embassy in the last, let's say, 10 years. 10 years, prior to 10 years, 7 years back, there was one applicant who was called for an interview. So they are not random. Once in a blue moon they would call somebody and and do the interview. So Canada as a country assesses the application based on documentations and the visa officer's own intuition of whether the applicant will come back or not, and the documentation and how you present your application. US is interview based. You have to clear the interview, you have to answer the right questions, right answers to the officer for clearing your visa interview. New Zealand, sometimes, depending in student visas cases, they do take interview, and randomly for visitor visas and other visas also they do take interview. So does Australia, but very minimal. But US, they take interviews for of every applicant. Financial criteria. Each country has different benchmarks for financial sufficiency. So, if you are going for travel to a country like US, they would want to see you have enough funds for your flight tickets and you stay for that amount of time. And so does Canada and all, but the amount may vary from country to country. We will discuss this when we come to the future cases and country wise training. When we come to that, we will discuss that. And in matters like permanent residence, Canada has point-based systems, and Australia also has point-based system, and so is New Zealand. So on PR applications, they assess the application based on points. Points are based on age, education qualification, work experience in India or overseas, family living there. If you're married, then your spouse's age and qualification, English language requirement, all these aspects in combination, they look into this and they apply for the approval basis the information. And again, depending on the country application, health requirements are also there. You have to go for medical test, medical report only from panel physicians registered by the embassy, and any information regarding documents and everything that you need as a consultant. What I do is I follow the country's immigration website. I do not visit a third party agent's or third party company's website. If I need to take any information on documents, checklists, news, recent updates, if I have to visit Canada's information, I go to IRCC's website and only look into that. I only believe that if somebody tells me that this is a news, have you heard about this change, this new policy about Canada, about student, about work visa, about post study work permit, I say, okay, let me check the website. And if you go through the website, so for you, website is the Bible for everything. If you want any new updated information or document or forms, do not download or take information from a third party website. Always take information from the main government website of that immigration. You will find everything that you want to know. It is just that you need to put some efforts on researching that information, understanding that information. But if you do, everything is there, right? The next slide. is challenges in the visa application. This is a very important aspect of an application. Guys, can you hear me? Am I clear?
Yes, Rohit.
Yes, yes, clear.
Uh, just 1 second. Okay. So the next slide is challenges in visa applications, documentation error. So form errors. You don't enter the right information properly on the application form. It is very important. I have seen a lot of applicants when they do it directly, they make a lot of mistakes in understanding the question in the application form, and they don't write the correct answer on the application form. And language barriers can be one challenge. Understanding the application guidelines and difficulty in understanding the question, because sometimes the forms in the immigration documents, the application form, are really twisted. It is hard to understand. So even when I read a question, I have to read it twice or thrice to understand the exact thing that they're asking in the form. So it is very important to very meticulously understand the question and answer accordingly. Funds requirement or the financial requirements, you need to provide funds which are verifiable, with proper information, with proper documentation. A lot of people are not able to do this, and funds requirement or financial assets is one of the main primary reason for declining of an application. A lot of people student visa application or family visit visa application or visitor visa application gets declined because of not providing funds information properly. Even if they do provide funds information properly, they don't uh, substantiate the information properly, and thus they get declined. And major challenges also is regarding the delay in processing because of lot of applications from India. Countries like Canada, US, Australia, UK, all these countries, they face challenges in terms of volumes of the application and the allocation to the visa officer and then timely completing the assessment. So it is always advisable. So as a consultant, you should always advise your applicants to complete the information, to submit the application way before your travel plan, not in the last minute or not in the 11th hour. So if you are planning a travel, let's say for example, we are sitting in the month of December, and if you have plans to travel to a major country like Canada, US, UK, 5 months from now, you should start planning or submitting the application planning now, because sometimes there are delays of 2 months, 3 months, and then you'll have to wait for the application outcome. So it is always better to you plan within 2 to 3 months time. You plan the visa application so that you avoid delay in your application or your client's application. Obviously, one of the major challenges, interview stress, what to answer, what not to answer. Should I lie? Should I not lie about my experience, about my funds? So these are very major important aspects. We will cover this information later in the further days of training. But interview anxiety or interview stress is also one of the major challenges the applicant has to go through. Next slide. Okay. So So the important tips to get a favorable outcome or a successful visa application is that, like I said, research requirement, understand, clearly understand the specific requirements of the visa type, accurately fill the application form, provide all the information and documentation properly, show clear evidences of financial support or assets or funds that they have in the application, which requires prepare for the interview. If interview happens, you as an applicant should know each and everything about the application. So as a best consultant, it is always advisable that you submit the application and prepare the application in front of the applicant. Either it is online or it is physical. The applicant has the right to know what is going into his application, and also the applicant should know, because during the interview, if the applicant is questioned about a document, about some information, and he has no idea about it, he will fail the interview. So he or she should know what all documents are going in the application, and based on that information, the uh, information should be shared with the applicant, and only then they are prepared for the interview and they will not fail the interview. And regularly check the process, follow up for your clients via email or via web form or whatever channels that particular country's embassy has to actively follow up on the documentation. Be very clear in terms of charging fee from the applicant. Talk about refundable and non-refundable aspect in the application while submitting or taking the consultation fee, and be very clear about documentation. Do not, as a consultant, get into a malpractice of fake documentation, to get the outcome of the visa application. Um, the fake documentation and fraudulent work activity as a consultant will probably get you a lot of money in a very short span of time in this business, but it will give you a bad name, which will not be healthy for a long term business. If you want to do a business for a long time, for a long period of time, you know build a brand as a consultant, build a name for yourself that you are a genuinely uh, you know you are a genuine consultant with all the right information, and try and get good clean applicants. If some applicant talks to you about fraudulent documentation, providing you wrong information, it is better to not take his or her case, even for higher amount of funds or higher amount of money as consultancy. But initially, if you are starting as a consultant, do good cream cases, get to know all the applications, get to know how the process is. Once you get to know all these information, it will be easier for you to tackle decline cases or cases which have been refused due to errors of a different agent or the applicant himself, and it will really help. Yeah. Next slide is useful resources. Like I said, government websites, official pages. So for UK, you have to go to the UK's website, and US, you have to go to the US website, and only follow that country's website. Do not look into a third party website, because the third party website, let's say if you visit xyz.com and you see information, they may not have updated their website regularly. These countries, the government websites are regularly updated. They have a team, they have a proper channel wherein they keep updating their information on the portal. But a private website or a private company's website, they may not have guys, or they may not have a team who are regularly updating the information. So you don't have to go to a private website, look at an old information, download an old application form and submit it right now, which is not prevailing at this point of time. So it is always better to go through that company's website. Okay. It is also a good idea to consult consultants on the application if your application is complex. I know if you are educated, it's easy to fill the form. A lot of people think that what's in the form. It's just name and phone number and all these address and all these details. But a visa application is not just limited to uh, phone numbers, you see, or name and all these things. You have letter of intent, you have all those information that you need to mention to convince the visa officer. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of smartness. It is not just a normal visa application. It is basically trying to convince a different country's officer about your. It's like a job interview. It's like an interview. It's like clearing an examination. So if you have a good profile, if you are well prepared in the visa application, and if you are a good consultant and you're helping the applicant properly, only then your applicant will pass the visa, right, and get the visa approval. So it is always a good idea that you take a professional help, and paying money once is not a bad idea, but then getting declined, paying the embassy fee, and then applying again, paying the embassy fee and paying the consultant could be even more highly impacting your pocket. So it is better to take help from consultancies who knows the application process. Ask questions to your consultant. Make sure the consultant knows all the right answers and he's not bluffing at you without any information. So that is also very important to choose the right consultant for the application. And all it's embassies and direct sources and information and accurate information is only embassies and consulates website. And you can find checklists and all these templates and documents on the original website of the country. Don't go on the third party, right? So the next slide is the conclusion. So today we have basically understood the concept of the visa, the types of visas, the similarity, the challenges of this visa in this session, uh, which is called as the concept clearing session. I call it as concept clearing session. It is very important to understand the documentation, the process, the types of visa that you want to apply, how as a consultant you will be uh, how as a consultant you will be covering all the aspects of the of the applicants, and how will you guide the applicant with forms and documentations and letter formats. And the final tip is that you always double check information from the website, and it is always a best practice to share that information with your applicant, because if you have made a mistake and you have shown it to the applicant, there is a chance that applicant might note that down and bring that to your notice. So that ways you will avoid errors in the application, right? So this concludes our day one session, which is the first session of visa concepts. And the next class, we will be covering country wise information, right?